Well, hello, mixed media and beyond community. I'm coming on today to show you how to do your image transfers with your Gelliplate from your own photos. So if you like this video, make sure that you click the button and subscribe, because there's going to be lots more videos as we go along. Let's get going. Okay, so when I do a transfer, I use a little app. You can use Photoshop or lots of other things, but you may not have it. This app is quite cheap. It is an Apple app, I think, but you may be able to find it in Android. But it's called Notanizer. So this app helps me create my pictures for my transfers. So I do print them with a laser printer. I want to say that again, not an inkjet printer. So a laser printer is what we're using. So the fun part about this is I will just go in and choose my photo, and I have them in a file called transfers, and I can choose a photo. Now you can see that's very, very dark, but I can move this way to make it darker. So you could actually do levels of color if you wanted to, or you can see I can move it this way and look at all the detail I have in that. So that is then a perfect print to be able to do for my Gelliplate printing. So you can go to extreme depending on what part of the photo you think is important. I'm kind of wanting to see Big Ben there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to export that, and cancel. I'm going to export that and save it as an image. Yes, it's adding it to my photos. Now I'm going to go to my photos, and then I'm going to print that as an A4 on or US letter, whichever you have where you are, and I'm going to make a print of it. So I'm just going to do a couple. So let me just go to another one. Let's have a few, hey? That you sort of know that it does actually work. Oh my goodness me, I'm so disorganized with my files here. Transfers. Okay, so I think I might do that one too. You can see here it's very dark, but it's got very interesting trees and things in it. So I'm just going to go lighter again and see what a beautiful transfer that is. Now that is something that you can beautifully color. So I'm going to export that as well. Save as an image. So I use Notanizer. I'll put up a little link or a little picture as well. You'll see it in the corner of what it actually looks like. And let's do also the Eiffel Tower, which we haven't done yet as a saved one. So let's do the Eiffel Tower. So this is a great way of doing your holiday pictures. And you can see here, I like it so you can see all the people and everything in the background. So let's save that. Oops, no, we're not printing it yet. We'll just save it to photos. Okay, so I'm going to print those out. Now I do print a few of each one out. If you don't have a printer, you can, or if you don't have a laser jet printer, you can print it with your normal inkjet printer, and then just go to a photocopy place and get them to copy it with their laser printer, and that way you can use them. But they do need to be laser prints because you do need to have that special kind of ink. Okay, so I will be back after I've printed them. So Gelliplate printing has always been something I really, really love to do. So I'm going to show you a little trick today. I get a lot of people asking me about doing their own photos, so that's what we're going to do today. Now there are some things you do need. So I'm using acrylic paints, and I do find that Amsterdam acrylics work consistently, and I don't have any trouble with them. So if you're having trouble, maybe try another paint. I know for just doing general Gelliplate, where we're just doing like random kind of abstracty things, you can use any acrylic paint. But I do find with the transfers, and I do use black a lot for transfers, so at least get the acrylic in the black Amsterdam, and I know that you're going to have success. You need a brayer roller, you need a Gelliplate. I guess you're here because you already have one. Now, this is my little magic thing. This is called Picture Varnish Gloss. This brand is Micador, which I think is available worldwide, but if you can't get this brand, it's just the kind of varnish that you will finish an oil painting or an acrylic painting with. Now, I have used just gloss paint. It is a toxic thing, so you're not buying a water-based one. It is one that has a smell about it. So even though I will spray one today, please don't spray them inside the house. I usually put all my pieces of paper outside and I spray them there. You will need a high contrast picture, and I'm going to show you in the next section how to do that. So this is my high contrast picture. It must be a laser jet print. It cannot be an inkjet print. So there's a reason for that. It's the kind of toner that's used. So you have a high contrast thing. If you haven't got you don't have Photoshop in that, I'm going to show the easiest way for you to do that. So they're the things you need. Copious amounts of paper and a lot of patience. So meet me in the next part. So you can see here I have laser printed my photos out. I've got a lovely version here of Big Ben, which is lovely. I love that it's got the bus in there as well. This one has turned out really spectacular. So you can see here that it's just quite a nice image, and I've done a few of each, and I've also done the Eiffel Tower. Now I'm going to show you on the Eiffel Tower because it's the smallest image, but I'm going to show you what you do. Now I am going to do this on camera, but please do not normally do this inside. Like I said, this picture varnish is a little toxic. It's a varnish, so you're going to be using it. Now I'm going to show you when I start printing why I put the picture varnish on and what happens if I do and what I don't. Okay, so all you need to do is give your picture the lightest coat of this varnish. Do not soak it, just a light coat. Okay, you should not be able to, it shouldn't look soaking wet. So you saw that really quick coat, very, very light, and it works great. So this is, I need to let this dry. I'm going to do a print with and without the spray, and you'll see why I use the spray. Now you may be very, very lucky that you got yourself a laser printer that uses a toner that works every time, but I found that 90% of the time people say it doesn't work with my laser printer. I've found that this has made it work, and one of the reasons is it makes the black a little glossy like it would be in a magazine, and it helps with the resist. So let's go and we'll start printing. Okay, so I've got the unsprayed one here and it's very matte. And then I've got the sprayed one here that's got a little gloss to it. So I'm going to get my Gelliplate, put them aside for a second. Now this part is just as important to you as the actual putting the gloss on. So I'm going to just put a bead on. Can you see what a little tiny bit, maybe a little bit more than this, but it's a tiny bit of paint. We make mistakes because we use too much paint. So then I'm going to roll this paint out. And I know that I don't need much paint in the top area other than the Eiffel Tower, so I'm not going to waste my paint because it all just ends up getting thrown away. Now I'm just going to roll this till it gets a satin finish. Excuse me. See, it's almost a little transparent, but it's got a satin finish. It does not have any globs of paint anywhere. So I'm just doing this to make sure it's nice and smooth. And then I'm going to use the print that isn't sprayed. Now, I use my hands, not a roller, but it's up to you. I like to be able to feel that there are no bubbles in there. This is important that you don't want to press too hard and not too soft. So whenever you're doing this, you might go, now, I have a print here. It's okay, but it's awfully light, isn't it? So a lot of people go, oh, I'm just not having success. So what I'm going to do is just clean that off. Now, I do not use a cloth to clean this off. I'm just going to use a tiny bit of medium. This is the other thing that you will need, a matte medium or some sort of medium. I use liquitex matte medium. So I'm going to now just roll this on here because I want to pick this print up. And you know, this is still nice on a piece of tissue paper. Don't throw it away. Bit of paper. Now the trick is, again, you saw how thinly I rolled that. Hardly any paint. There is a lot of people, when they're doing a lot of abstract stuff, use really thick layers of paint and their paper delaminates and that, but I find that if you just do this thin way, it works every time. So give it a bit of a moment. And you can see I do have an Eiffel Tower. It's pretty ordinary. So I'm going to do it again with my black. I keep those sort of papers, by the way, so don't throw them away. I use them for collage. At the end of this video, if you watch to the end, you'll see some paintings I do with my Gelliplate. Okay, again, nice thin layer. You do not want to see streams of paint through here. Nice thin layer. Sometimes you've got to actually do a few of those abstracty jelly plates to prime your plate. So now I'm going to put this one on. I'm going to smooth it with my hand. Now you're always going to get a bit of grunginess to a jelly plate print. So, you know, don't worry if you get bit of black and that around there. We don't worry about that. Okay. Now look at the difference in the print. That is a far better print. We actually have a nice black to it. I actually think I'm using Payne's grey instead of black. I am. That's why it's not so black. In the next one I'll use black. So I've been using a Payne's grey acrylic. Now I do need to let this dry. Now we let it dry because then we can play with some colour on top of it. But if we try to just stick this onto paper now, that is far too thin, and some parts of it are dry just simply from the paper. So give it a moment, then we'll put another layer on. So I'll come back. Okay, so I'm just going to use medium to pick this up this time. So just to show you how the print works out, so you can really see how the detail works out. So again, this is called matte medium. See what a tiny bit I'm putting down. I'm really only putting the smallest bit down. Then I'm rolling it. The reason we need this to be dry is if our paint isn't dry, we're going to end up with, this actually is a dirty roller. So again, very, very thin. I've got some cream paper here that I think I'll put it on. Again, I use my hands. A lot of people say use your rollers, but you know, I like to use my hands. So just wait a second, like, you know, take a little bit of time to wait. You can always pull up a little corner and have a look. Has it transferred? But you can see here, not all of it has transferred. So I'm going to put it back down, give it a bit more time. Okay, there's still a little bit on the plate, and you can see I did smudge it a little bit with my roller, but in the detail areas I have a nice Eiffel Tower, so I hadn't let it dry quite enough here and I smudged it with my roller. But you can see that we have quite a detailed print, and it's not too bad at all. Just going to clean that up. You can just clean it up with another piece of paper, stick that on there. Now I also know that I did it a little bit thick with the medium, so this time we're going to do another one. You can see how it picks it up. Now the reason this happens, okay, so I had too much paint on that plate to be picked up by just one piece of paper because the paper fatigues because of the moisture. So this time it picked it up fine. And I'm just going to leave that little bit of grungy stuff on there, and I'm going to do my next print. So this time I'm going to do this print, and I am going to use black. So I'll put my little bit of black on the page. Tiny bit of black, actually that's probably a little bit too much, so I'll suck a bit up again. You can just put it aside with a palette knife if you have too much. But I'm going to put this thin layer, and I can already see this is much more black. So my black has been left open. So we really just want it nice and thin. Almost that you can see through. Then I'm going to take my print. Now I really want the top of that print more than anything, so I'm going to carefully put it down. Give it a rub. I use the flats on my hand. Don't do this. Do this, flat. Okay, now I'm going to pull it up, and you can see this is quite a good print. Look at that. I have quite a good print. Did actually go a little over the edge, but you know, artistic license, I guess. So again, I'm going to let this dry, but this time I'm going to show you how to put extra colors on. So you can use other colors rather than medium. I showed you medium before because I wanted you to be able to see how that looks, but this time I'm actually going to add a little bit of color to it. Okay, this time I'm going to be a little bit sneaky and put some colour where I want it to go. Now you can actually brush colour in. It takes a little while to dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll some colour in, because I have a little roller here. And I'm doing the rolling over here so I don't get it too thick. And I'm just doing the Houses of Parliament very lightly. Now I'm not worrying if it doesn't end up exactly where I want it to be, but it's just a bit of fun to add some colour to areas that you might want to add colour to. Now I'm going to let that dry a little bit too, but while that's drying I'm just going to put a little bit of the reflection colour in here. Sometimes a little roller can be really handy for these little play things. I'm also going to put a little bit of yellow in, if I can get that. Oh, bit of sunny yellow in the water, even though it's a very cloudy day. Again, why I do this over the side here is because I know that if I do it on the actual image, it will be way too thick. So I'm just going to put a bit of yellow here. I mean, really, you can just do whatever you like. This is your image, but we'll let this dry. So now I'm going to add a little bit of grey because it's a bit of a grey day, and a little bit of blue because we still want some blue in the sky even though it's a very grey day, and we'll just play with that to start off with. So I'm just using my clean bigger roller, and again I'm just rolling it. Actually, just before I do, I'm going to put some white in. So this is where you get to play. put whatever you want in. So I'm going to put some, don't think I want to cover everything. Somewhat like a cloudy grey sky. So you become this artist in with your Gelliplate, which is great fun. And now sometimes I do this on pieces of paper that I want to keep so that I end up with something really nice to keep. Now I'm going to put a very thin layer of this over here up in the sky area, and I think I'll keep a bit of white down the bottom. Now, so long as this is all thin and light, you can pick up your print now or you can let it dry and we pick it up with some medium. So I'm going to let it dry because I don't have a piece of paper prepared. I'll go and grab one. Okay, this is pretty dry now, so I'm just going to get my medium. The medium's like the glue that will stick it to the paper. Obviously wet paint will too, but because I didn't have my paper ready. Now there's a little bit of black on this, so it's making it a bit grungy. I'm just making sure it's nice and thin because it's basically a thin layer of glue that's going to hold this image on. So now I've got a 300 GSM art paper that I use, and I give it a good hard rub. It's quite hard. You need to push. Now what you can do is then peel up a corner, and if you see that there is a lot left on your plate, put it back down again. Just hasn't had time for that to soak into your paper. You should get some image left. Another thing is you can actually turn it over and have a look at what you've got. Oh, and that's quite interesting. So I always keep a piece of paper stuck to my other side of my plate. Turn it over. Now you can walk away and have a cup of tea and leave this. Now I'm just pulling this up, and it appears to be nearly all there. And I have a beautiful London stormy day. Oh, I like the reflections in the road and the colour. So you can see with colour and a small roller or a paintbrush. If you use a paintbrush, it has to be really thin layers. So this time I'm going to do that lovely building with the plane in front of it, the square in front of it. Again, I'm using a tiny bit of paint. Now, I just want to say that some people have trouble when they're doing this where their paper delaminates. That's nearly always because you're using too thick a paint. So your paper becomes saturated, and then the little tiny hairs on the paper let go and the paper delaminates. So do thin layers. Just think thin layers. Saves your paint too. So, you know, it's a good thing not to do things too thickly. Nice thin layers, and you'll always get a good result, or a result that you'll be happy with anyway. So you can see here now I have all the detail in that. The detail is actually really good. So the next step, I'm going to wait for it to dry, and I'm going to actually put some stormy sky. I'm going to put more of that grey in the blue because I want that little bit of a stormy look about it. I like to use these kind of colours if I'm looking for an old-fashioned photo effect. So this is, you know, if you're doing your holiday photos, or even if you've got some photos of old family photos and in black and white, and you want to do some really sort of nice sepia kind of old-fashioned photos. So I'm putting a layer of this on here. I've used a bit of ochre, I've used a bit of white, but whatever I do, I'm just using a little bit of paint. That's why I'm using a palette on the side, because that stops me putting a big glob of paint on the actual work. So just make sure that you do that, you don't put globs of paint. So once that's dry, I'm going to now use, you can use white or you can use medium, it doesn't really matter, it's going to be the back colour, it's really the glue that sticks it to the page. So I've let that dry, and now I'm putting a coat of that over the top, nice and thin. I have to have my paper ready this time because I want this to glue the whole image onto the paper. So if I wander away and I'm trying to find a piece of paper, I won't get the image. So I've got my paper ready, put it on, give it a nice rub, and again, I like to use my hands. You can use your roller if you don't like to use your hands, but I like a bit of paint on my hands. So once you've got that, you wait a moment. Now you could go and have a cup of tea. You could leave this overnight if you like, but you can see here I'm pulling it up. Now, if you have any bits that don't come up, you can actually just pull half the image up, put a tiny bit of medium, put it back down again. But I've got the whole image in this. Now I'm actually loving this one. It looks a lot like a really old photograph. This is where I'm so tempted to then use some other mediums with it. So you can use coloured pencils on this. I can highlight some of this building with coloured pencils. There's so much you can actually do. It's actually got my handprint in there. Don't know how I got that, but you can see this has a very old world, old photo look about it. So you can do so much with your own photographs. I hope you give it another go. So I'm going to do one more. I'll do that Eiffel Tower again, and I'm going to do that in brighter colours. Okay, so this one here, we're going to do the Eiffel Tower. We're going to do it in black. And we're going to do a bit of a twist with this one. So I hope you stay to watch it because it is a bit of fun. So just get down the black first. I find my plate gets better and better as I go. So you can see there, I just wanted to explain to you, if you rub, like if I roll like that, I'm actually doing damage to my plate and I'm not getting the paint nice and even. I'm just pushing it aside. So I kind of call it runway rolling. So you roll really loosely. Now I have sprayed this one. I want to put the Eiffel Tower a little bit lower this time. So I'm making it in the middle. And let's look at the detail. Oh my gosh, we've got beautiful, beautiful black detail. Look at the detail in that. Now, this is one of my own photos, so I don't have to worry about copyright, although apparently if we take photos of the Eiffel Tower and use them, it's a bit of a breach of copyright, but we are not going to worry about that today because we're doing some art with it. So we're going to let that dry and I'm going to show you the next step. So I want to do a little bit of a sunset behind this, the Eiffel Tower this time. So I'm going to take a little bit of yellow and put it where the yellow should be. Sunset. Make sure my roller is quite dry. So I'm just going across like this. Now you don't want to over roll it either, because if we over roll it, we can start to lose our image. And I'm going to go to a bit of pink. Now I'm doing the pink here because if I start rolling it too much there, I'm going to mess up my print. So I want to do a bit of pink, very lightly rolling now. And I want a tiny bit of purple, but I don't want to lose the top of the Eiffel Tower, so I'm going to mix it up with a bit of pink and just put it on the top this side of my roller, right? And I'm just going to put a little bit of purple up there, and I think I'll put a little bit of purple in this bottom area. So now I need to let that dry. We're going to do something fun with this and put some words on it as well, so stay tuned. So to pick this up, I am going to use a little bit of medium. Again, I'm going to roll it over here. I just don't want to be rolling it. Make sure your roller's nice and dry if you just cleaned it. And I'm just rolling it over here. And then I don't want to roll too much because I don't want to lose my image, and I don't want lines in it either. So I might end up with a few lines in it that way, but okay, let's put this on like this and see what we end up with. So this is a great way of journaling some of your holiday photos. While this is happening, I'll just show you, I just added some white pencil to this. I really love this one because it really looks to me like an old photo that I might have found. And this one here has this beautiful sort of watery effect. It really has the feeling of rain, an old photo and rain, and maybe it's been a little coloured. But I'm going to actually also use pencil to put some of the detail back in there. So I use my Prismacolor pencils really successfully on this. Okay, we will let this wait for a little. Let's see what we end up with. Oh. Okay. Now, I probably would have liked this to have blended a little bit extra, but when I'm making videos, I don't tend to wait as much time as you would if you are doing it at home and you've got that time to actually do it. Now, I have done some words, and I hope I haven't oversprayed them, but I want to put these words on here as well. So I'm going to make these a bit grungy, and I want them to go across the Eiffel Tower. So let's see if I can pick them up. I may have oversprayed them. I'm going to just, this time I need such a little amount of black. It's kind of hardly any at all. I only need the bit of paint where I need it. Now, this on here. I've oversprayed it, can you see? Oh no. So we have some lovely light wording on there. I only want it to be light. I'm going to put a little bit of white behind the wording. Just, oh, that's not white, is it? That's drying very quickly. I'm actually going to make a mixture of white and medium because I just want it really thin. And I'm going to just lightly put it. So this is very thin, but enough to glue it. So basically what we're doing is we're taking it off the Gelliplate. Now this is where I take the outside off so I can see where I'm going to place this, and I kind of want to place it about there. I'm putting this back on so I can give it a press. I can have a little look. So you can see here what I'm doing is transferring the words from the transfer. So this is where you can actually use your own words, and you can see there that we now have the words as well. So you can transfer your own diary onto it if you print it out and you have your own diary words. It's really endless what you can do. Now that has faded that a little bit, but I'm quite happy with that. I like I'm very much into grungy looking pictures. At the end of the video, you'll see a painting I've done with using Gelliplate transfers as part of the painting, with the words and the backgrounds and things like that. So if you enjoyed this video and you really liked what I'm doing, please subscribe to Mixed Media and Beyond, and head over to the Mixed Media and Beyond community Facebook page for more exciting things that we're doing to give you inspiration in your artwork. So make sure you click and subscribe. You're with Lucy. Have a great day.